it's probably a 2025 prototype. So this will be.
That's what the calendar would suggest.
Yeah, and so what you don't know.
What is up, everybody? How you living? No putts given. A little bit on location. Do I look like I'm in a hotel room or a hostage situation, Tony?
That's more hotel room for sure.
Okay. Well, better than that. This is the official Suck It England podcast because it is week of 4th of July. So I figured, you win the war, you make the rules, right? That seems fair, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, they did just win a soccer game yesterday as we're recording this, so that was a tight one. So it's not all bad for England, I guess.
A football match on the pitch for those of you who ascribe to such beliefs.
Excellent work on the appropriate lingo there.
Thank you. I had it jotted down on my my notepad right here just in case I screwed it up. Anyway, once again, this edition of No Putts Given is brought to you by our good friends over at Lab Golf, who are thrilled to see Richard Bland, live golfer, lab putter user,
live golfer, lab putter, life lover,
and winner. Has won the last two. This is falling now under our tour recap section, people, but has won the last two Champions Tour majors. I wonder how the other guys on that tour feel about Richard Bland effectively, like, again, going to live, doing all that stuff, but then comes and wins on the PGA Tour Champions. I don't know how popular that is. I guess I don't really care, but it's interesting.
You know what? That's not a tour I watch anyway, and I barely watch. That's saying very little. I mean,
that's saying very little, but
yeah.
But
it would be it would be at least third on my list, maybe fourth of what I would watch.
Tours you don't watch?
Yeah, no, like of what I would watch. Like, all right, PGA Tour,
okay,
LPGA Tour, Live Tour, then Senior Tour.
Oh, we'll get to the Live piece in a minute because they just lost a kind of an important part of their distribution network. But we'll start with Cam Davis. Cam Davis,
who I was shocked to learn is neither Cam Smith nor Cam Young. It's an entirely different third
Davis
Cam.
Riley or right. So yeah, so when you want to do when you want to figure out who won, you got to do a little name gymnastics here. He's Cam Davis, second PGA Tour win, won the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. He is a Titleist staffer through and through. So we looked at his bag. Nothing super crazy in there, except I did want to ask you this question, Tony. He's still playing the Titleist CBs, and it seems like there's a number of players that are good bagging older sets of irons. Is this because they're just super, super comfortable? Is it because there hasn't been a lot of technological advancement in that kind of player CB space? We talked player CB results last week, and so we talked about this a little bit, but, best players in the world, 5 years old. I mean, roughly this version of CBs has been out for half a decade.
Yeah, and when you think about it, so when the current T-Series launched, which would have been, I guess, last year, right?
It is.
So that's the cadence. So last year, no new CB in the lineup, no new MB in the lineup. And at the time, we asked Titleist about it, and, it's not like they've abandoned it. They're looking at it continuously, but kind of where they are from a technology standpoint and a footprint standpoint and everything that goes into making a CB what it is. Their consensus is, we could. Everything we would do right now to improve a CB kind of just brings us to T100.
Right. We did do it. We did improve the CB. We did, if you want to take a player CB and we want to add some things while maintaining a footprint of that size, well, we did do that. It's called T100. And if you need it to be a little bit lower lofted, as in my case, I was fit into the 150s. So that, okay, then we have that. So other than kind of these one-off, versions of musclebacks, like we saw, Justin Thomas has his version. They've done some of kind of the one-off muscleback versions. Do you think? I mean, I guess that's the question. That does Titleist come out with a new CB at some point, or do
Yes,
they
at
just keep
some
holding?
point. At some point, I would think. If only because you even at that level you do need to refresh every so often, and there are guys that are going to want that CB over a T100. So yeah, I don't know when, but
Yeah,
I expect something will be different enough to justify a new model. And again,
yeah.
you can't
Tom Hoagie
expect. You're
was
not
another.
expensing. Nobody buying this is expecting a radical breakthrough in technology because that just again
They
that
don't
gets you
want it,
to something like a T100. So
right?
yeah,
And in point of fact, this is probably more an equipment part of the conversation, but they don't want it. Like, again, you have 14 clubs in your bag, take out the putter and the driver, and now you have 12 clubs that you want to have gapped appropriately to do certain things, right? And if you have five, six, or seven of those clubs as a quote unquote set of irons that do what you want them to do with a specific trajectory, peak height, shot shape, ball speed, etc., why do I want to change seven of those gaps just because, oh, it goes a little further? Well, I don't necessarily want my 8 iron to go 4 yards further. All that does is create another 10, 12 problems to solve without any real meaningful benefit, right? So why do that?
you don't. So
Other quick pieces to our new Seth Waugh, CEO of PGA of America. He is out, announcing his departure after 6 years in that position. Good luck, Seth. We'll be interested to see. Tony, are you going to apply for that position?
no, I am not. What a
Yeah, me
nightmare
neither.
time to be involved in that, right? So
Well, it's they just moved the headquarters obviously to Texas, Frisco to be specific, from Florida. So that's kind of a major transition in that, and yeah, a lot of work to be done there. So we'll be very, very interested to see who replaces Seth. If they kind of stay inside, kind of promote from within, or if they look to somebody external for that position. Who knows? What I was alluding to before with Live was, and I have to laugh. I'm not laughing at Live. I'm laughing at the name of the company, Caffeine TV, who is their streaming service, has now apparently run out of juice. What a terrible name, right? Like, there's 6 events remaining, um, and Caffeine TV is no longer. This reminds me of when Jim Furyk was sponsored by 5 Hour Energy and kind of collapsed during an event like on hole 17 and 18. It's like, okay, that's that joke writes itself. But is
that's one of
this a
those things. Like,
problem?
no, I don't think it matters. I think the only reason it matters is because when the deal was signed, Live made a big deal out of it. Like, oh yeah, look at
Sure,
this, more distribution. We're getting there, and they're like, first of all, question one: what the hell is Caffeine Network at the time? I don't know that anybody was screaming,
sounds
yes,
like
finally
something I
more
should know
great
about. But yeah,
more great programming on this network I already watch all the time. Like that
right,
clearly wasn't the
right.
case, and so I think it was, something, a talking point, but I don't know how many people were actually tuning into Caffeine Network versus YouTube or the CW or wherever
Right.
you're getting your
Yeah,
live. So I don't think it
I'm
matters
not gonna.
other than it just kind of looks bad to
No, I'm not gonna be
talk it up and then
surprised. Yeah, if Liv gets another streaming partner or whatever, I think it says more about like Sean Fairholm wrote the article about kind of going to a Live event, what's there and what isn't, whatever. It seems like to the degree that people enjoy the product, they enjoy it more in person than in a streaming format. So my question isn't so much can Liv get another streaming partner or whatever. The fundamental question is, will anybody watch? I don't care who the streaming partner is. We know TV viewership is flat to down in general for golf. There are a million different ways to try and watch it. There's 14 different channels you have to be able to access to watch a full round of PG Tour golf, right? But my question is anybody going to watch it, regardless of who the partner is? I don't know.
yeah, not many. By comparison, not many. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
There are live golf diehards. There are PGA
Okay.
Tour golf diehards, and then somewhere in the middle or all around them, you have golf diehards who will watch
Sure.
golf anywhere, anytime,
Right.
and and that's not going to change regardless. But
Correct.
we've said this a dozen times. The fundamental problem has not changed. You have two
Yeah.
tours that, by and large, don't have the majority of the events are inconsequential to the degree that they don't feel like they matter much. And hey, I'm sure Cam Davis feels like the Rocket Mortgage was a big deal because he won it, and the guys at Rocket Mortgage probably feel like it's a big deal because it's their event. But at
Sure.
the end of the day, it's not a major. It's not a Ryder
Mhm.
Cup. It's not a Players
No, to the general
Championship.
golfing public, yeah, again, 4, 5, 6 events throughout the year that are quote unquote must see TV if you're in the golf space.
And fundamentally, like if you want to say where live hurts the game, and I'm not saying PGA Tour was perfect and that all the blame is on live, because I think we'd agree the PGA Tour as a television product, as a consumer product, has not been great for a long time, if ever.
Sure.
But now
Yeah.
you take the best players in the world, the guys that you would watch, right? And you split them over two tours and have them play on TV and largely inconsequential events and hope that people watch. And if anything,
Right.
it makes the majors more engaging when the two tours come together or the best players on those
Yeah.
tours come together. But any other week, I'd rather watch anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again,
All right, let's talk some
I
equipment.
concede I'm not that golf diehard. I'm not that tour diehard. I'm not a
No.
live diehard. I'm like, give me the best of the best when you have it, and the rest
Yeah.
I'll find something else to
But
do.
you're
with my
probably
time.
more representative of a typical golf watching consumer than I am, in that regard. So I think that's fair. Let's talk some equipment stuff. Let's start with this. Last week we were out at Titleist and learned about all the new GT product that is out. Obviously, we can say that there's pictures, images,
It does
staffers,
exist.
numbers are
Can
coming out.
confirm.
Can confirm it exists. Uh, we can't tell you some of the other details we would love to, but what can we say about that experience, Tony? What did you take from it? What were a couple of key learnings? What are things that we can share now? The rest we'll be able to share in August.
Yeah,
but
well, I
for
think
now,
we can. I think we can say it's good. Like, it's to an extent you would expect from Titleist, the look, sound, the feel, that kind of thing. No radical departures in that regard.
Yep.
What gets hammered home to me time and time again, and granted, we going to TPI, we get a little bit of a higher level experience perhaps, but Titleist's commitment to fitting and just hammering home the idea of like, yeah, we absolutely want you to buy a Titleist driver, but we want you to go get fitted for one. We want you to take the time, go through the process, so that you're not just buying a Titleist driver or a Titleist fairway wood. We want to make sure you're buying the right one, and kind of so that for me the fitting process and seeing the way they emphasize some things that they probably quietly emphasized in the past and we haven't been paying close attention, but I think in your fitting in particular, especially where when I was working with JJ, I was more like, hey, yeah, I just want to tighten up the lines. I want to take the right miss out. If I lose a few yards, and I didn't lose yards, but if I lose 1 or 2 yards, it's of little consequence if I keep it in play, because that's how I score. I score well through tighter, more reliable dispersion on my shots. But in your fitting with other Chris,
Big Chris,
we're really
6'9" Chris Mango.
Yeah, we spent a lot. I watched it. You guys spent a lot of time talking. Not just again, you were bringing in your corners a little bit too, but really focusing on descent angle, which was kind of an eye-opening approach.
Yeah, it like I said, there's the fitting experience, and then there's the equipment itself, and like you said, for people that are asking themselves like, okay, is this going to be a radical departure from what Titleist has done, etc.? No. If you want something that looks, sounds, feels like a Titleist, rest assured, people.
If you've been happy to date, you are not going to be unhappy moving forward.
Right. So
definitely
not a lot surprising, in that regard. But like you said, the element of fitting, like Titleist is not a sell you a driver at all costs. It's sell you a driver. Of course, they want people to buy their equipment, but they really don't want people buying their equipment without being fit for it, because they feel like that negatively reflect on the equipment itself, right? And going, hey, yeah, if I just went in there and picked up what I thought might work for me, there's a good chance it's not a DIY thing. I don't care how good of a player you are. I don't care how dialed in you are to your equipment. If Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Cam Young, one of our cams, if these
All the
guys
cams,
rely
all
on
the cams.
all the cams, all of them, if they rely on, you mentioned the name JJ, so JJ Van Wiesenbeck is tour fitter extraordinary. He's on tour. He's
Tour
out there with all,
operations manager, I believe, or
yeah,
director of
and
tour operations.
you're
Sorry, JJ, for shortchanging you on the title here.
you were fortunate enough to work with JJ on this one, and so
JJ was
if
unfortunate enough to work
well,
with me.
JJ, yeah, but if those guys rely on them to know the nuances and things of fitting that they don't either have time to pay attention to or the knowledge base to deal with, etc., why would any golfer in their right mind go, you know what? I'll fit myself. I'm good. Shouldn't. Like I said, I wasn't thinking the impact of descent angle, and what came out of my feed I thought was really interesting. It's like, hey, if we get this right, that probably means 3 or 4 other things are good. If this isn't right, one of these 4 metrics over here are going to be trash. And I think you said, you're like, oh, okay, this was good. Ball speed good, this good, that good. Oh, spin, trash.
And it really, yeah, it's a metric I don't think a lot of, especially guys going into a Dick's or a Golf Galaxy and playing the home run derby game, looking at ball speed and distance. It's not a metric, descent angle, I think, that a lot of guys look at or even know like what your range is. And, for Bango to kind of point out and say, hey, yeah, if this is off, this is going to be your clue that something else is off. And so for me to go, hey, yeah, look, your ball speed on a relative basis was really good there. I like your launch angle. Your swing speed didn't drop. So far, so good. Oh, but look at that spin rate, and now descent angle is off. It's not what it should be. So kind of like, hey, if this is off, go see what's causing it, and then
exactly.
fix it.
And for me, and I think in a lot of this, there's 36 to 40. So for people that want a specific number here to reference, it was a descent angle of 36 degrees to 40 degrees. And what we're talking about, right, is once that ball hits a peak height, just like your flight coming into Atlanta or wherever, as you start that descent, you want to hit the ground. If you hit the ground too steep, the ball's not going to run very far, especially if you have soft fairways. It's going to stop, right? If it comes in too shallow, it probably has not reached a peak height commensurate with an optimal amount of carry. So
it's that hose analogy,
you get that
right?
thing
Like
coming
getting
in
that
at 36 to 40, you've had to do a lot of things right up to that point to get it to land the way that you want to. And so it's like, oh man, all right, let's look at that. So yes, we'll talk more about these. Any other big takeaways, Tony? I mean, that's the driver stuff, fairway woods.
I mean,
Anything you want to mention?
So working with JJ is an absolute treat because even if he kind of ruined me a little bit because, I've been a Ventus guy since there was Ventus and more recently Ventus Black. And he was kind of looking at the ball flight and, again, trying to take that right miss out. And when I say right miss, I don't mean the one that slices off the planet. I mean the one that, that starts center to right and just drifts a little more right than you want it to. And so, like, there are ways you can do that with the head and tweak some things, but obviously that impacts some of those other metrics we talk about and may influence things in a way that isn't necessarily desirable. So JJ's approach just kind of looked at it and was like, I just want to shift the balance point of your shaft down a little bit. I was like, okay, let's do that. And, if you say so. And so with that, he ended up fitting me into something that, I probably wouldn't have looked at myself. So I think Hazardous Black 5th generation now. So definitely a departure from where I've been in that respect. And then kind of the other thing is, after the fitting, while you were doing yours, it kind of called me into one of the bays, noticing something in my swing and it's like, hey, let's spend some time trying to get your your weight more to the inside of your back foot. Really feel like you're pressing that, almost feeling like pressing the ankle into the ground on the takeaway, which is, okay, like it's new and different. Let's try it. And then, when the fittings were over, we went to shoot a little bit of B-roll, and I think, having worked with JJ for 15 minutes on that, I probably hit the best shots I hit all day after the fact with the stuff that I was fit for. So,
without a doubt,
that's obviously supplemental to the fitting itself. It's not going to be part of any most Titleist fitting experiences, but it's one of those things where
but the balance
came out
thing,
with something.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I was gonna like and like I said, I worked with Chris Bango, who again is a phenomenal fitter. I love working with Chris. Not only is he 6'9" and physically intimidating, but super smart.
You will hit this well.
You will hit. Okay, you got it. But being able, like I said, with JJ, thinking about the balance point of a shaft, not necessarily the Ventus Black itself as a shaft isn't a good fit, but understanding that the Ventus line can tend to get a little counterbalance, meaning that the balance point in the shaft starts to creep up a little bit toward the handle, which for you made it harder to square the face at impact. We're not talking all about the quality of the shaft or the engineering materials, anything like that. This is a spec thing. So it's like, okay, what do we have in the lineup that has a slightly lower balance point that might allow this golfer to get a more square face at impact once he had accounted for 34 other variables, right? And it's like, again, you're never going to notice that about yourself. You would have never sat there and gone through, other than maybe trial and error or something, but going, you know what, let's try this. If that works, I'm reasonably convinced that this is something that's going to help you. And it's
to be like, I think we're good. I'm happy with where we are with the way that the head is configured, right? The lie angle and the weight, where we've got the weight and all of that. And just to be like, let's pull one more lever that's maybe a little outside of the mainstream box, right? You're probably not gonna be in that hitting bay playing home run derby and seeing balls leak just a hair right. Sometimes more than a hair, but that's really what we're talking about. It's just that one that drifts into the deep rough. Yeah, and just go, let me, I just need to shift the balance point. It'd be good. And so then that's one of the other things, like, he said, if you don't love this shaft, here's a couple others you can look at that have similar balance point. And so, so now we've got a list that we can work with and really have some fun without going too crazy.
Yeah, to me, it was kind of like I remember like looking at active ingredients on generic. Here's my analogy for the day. Active ingredients on generic drugs, like you go to the store and be like, oh, can we get the store-bought, acetaminophen or whatever? And it's like, okay, if this has the same qualities, yep, that will work. So now you can take that shaft profile, what that shaft profile is. You can look and say, what are 5 other shafts in the industry that have the same profile? Or a very similar right? balance. And you can say, okay, A, B, C, and they all might have a slightly different feel or aesthetic or whatever. But now if you choose a different shaft, it's not because it's fundamentally different. It's the right shaft for you, but there's something about that, like I said, it could be a way that it feels or one that maybe you've used in the past. You're like, oh, yeah, I was comfortable with that. And just for the record, I got fit into a shaft profile that's a decade and a half old.
That's right. I
did not see that coming.
No, you tell everybody what you got fit into.
I got fit into, and I'm going to play this. I made Bango a promise that he said, dude, just play this for a year. Give me a year, and the stuff I fit you for, don't change it, and let's actually get you playing some better golf.
Hard. So,
graphite design, DI 6X in the driver.
Tour AD DI. Fit you for the original, the fitting club's like the original orange. It's just fantastic. Yeah. Like that club that shaft is older than my daughter, and it's still who's now 13.
Right,
and it's still viable, and that just tells you.
And it gets a lot of play on tour.
I mean, that's on the list, right, of iconic shafts of all time. ADDI,
without a doubt.
But yeah, like you probably go in there going, all right, fit me into the new hot thing, because we all want the new hot thing, and some of the best fitters in the world are going
really old hot thing.
Here you go, still hot as ever, my friend.
Still hot as ever. Stay hot, people. But
Still orange
again,
as ever.
if it works, it works. So I'm really excited to.
Tell yourself it's Bronco orange, right?
I already have. Already got some blue GolfSpy grips on order. Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. Let's go to this other stuff here real quick, Tony. We'll put a picture up of this prototype golf ball. One of my good buddies found this at our home course, TPC Colorado, which is hosting the Corn Ferry event here in not super, super long. What do you make of this particular golf ball, Tony? At first glance, tell me what you think.
Well, I think it's a prototype. And
What? Okay. I think it's a
Titleist.
I think it's a prototype.
It's probably a 2025 prototype. So this will be.
That's what the calendar would suggest.
Yeah, and so what you don't know, because it's not, especially at this point in the process.
Right.
Yeah. So we can say, look, 2025. Here's what we expect. Expect a new Pro V1, a new Pro V1X, and if anybody at all with any sort of senior level title is listening to me, a new left dash.
Come on, people.
One of those three things, and we can tell by the red letter that it's going to be an X variety. To me, the dimples look a little left dashy. I get left dash vibes from those dimples, but we don't know, what other changes are in the works. But and again, prototype. And
last time, right? The idea was on the Pro V1 to bring it a hair closer to Pro V1 left dot, so to take a little spin out, right? And again, the idea with Pro V1X last time around was to move it slightly closer to left dash. So again, maybe take a little bit of spin out of parts of that golf ball. Again, they're tweaks, they're nuances, there's subtle changes. So again, what this one will be, who knows? But you can imagine my surprise when my buddy, he goes, "Hey, Chris, what is this?" I said, "Well, that appears to be a prototype. I don't know. Beyond that, I got nothing." So, that'll be certainly be an interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's left dash or it's X. I'm going to be confident in that because I would expect at this point both will probably be replaced, especially as this year in particular we've seen Titleist lean into / acknowledge the existence of / make sure retail shelves are stocked with left dash more than ever before. So I think you could probably say it's cemented its place in the lineup. So again, that ball
especially since we saw them move AVX production to a slightly different ball plant, right? So we talked capacity, some of those things before. It kind of lines up.
It's not quite the ADDI of golf balls. But it's that current left dash has been around for a while. That design has not changed in several generations. So I think now that it is a thing that will be in the lineup, it's time to iterate. Although being such a niche product, it's a difficult one because you've got to make sure that we can. It's levers, right? Up and down, better, worse, the same, however we want to talk about it. And so if you have a committed group of left dash users, you don't want to put out a product necessarily that benefits some of them that got better for half and worse for the other half.
You don't want to be wildly dissimilar from the cult that's now following you, right? You don't want to do that. But at the same time, can you make it better? Good luck.
I feel like just put a softer cover on it. We're good. But, that's that kind of thing doesn't just happen in isolation. It doesn't work that way.
No. There's a lot of things to pay attention to, like aerodynamics and spin separation and how it impacts the layers underneath it and all those kind of things. But, it's fun. Did you see the article, Tony, on Astral putters, ASTRAL?
Yeah. My goodness.
Is this the most adjustable, tinkerable, that's a word, putter
I think
we've come across, maybe?
It's on the list. So you remember, it's one of these, call it whether you want to call it an erector set.
I love the erector sets, yeah.
My brother back in the day had these toys called Capsella. Again, you're just putting various pieces together to assemble something. So it's basically, I don't know, and certainly like Bruce Sizemore's done some crazy adjustable things. Machine Putters has done some things that are
Mm-hmm.
a little
Mm-hmm.
bit like this, where you're mixing and matching pieces. But yeah, to have your choice, pretty wild running down the list, right? It looks like choose a face insert. Do you want this copper one that feels soft, or do you want I guess steel, probably brass? So we got what
Brass, I
so we
think,
got
the
copper
other
and
one.
brass, and
Yep.
then different putter bodies, crazy things. So different, not just hosels, but the hosel is one piece, and then there's another piece. It's like a lie angle adjustment mechanism. So there's no bending. It's tuning that
Right.
way.
Uh-huh.
So pretty pretty wild here. So what do they
Who
got? 60
who's going to
plus
be
toe
most
hang and
interested in
shaft.
this putter?
Um,
Who's going to buy
yeah,
this
I
thing?
mean, like I don't know, because they sent Dave everything to play with. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know that this is something you necessarily buy the full kit. Ideally, like you go get fit and you're done, right? Like when we did our fittings, our
Sure.
fitters had different weight kits at Titleist.
Yeah.
They're not gonna
Set it and
they're not
forget
gonna
it. Once
send
you
us
find the
home with like,
optimal
yeah,
setup.
here's every weight you could need. Go do some damage. That's not how fitting is supposed to work. So I think ideally this is you get fit once, and this just kind of makes it easier to build whatever you want with no bending, and having some more
Yeah.
flexibility in the hosel to create some crazy offsets and alignments, or not crazy, but I guess more
Yeah.
precise, right? Like,
Right.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's funky.
The thing I really like about it is a tinkerer's dream, and we know in any place, again, putting is such a slow science that it's easy for people to maybe discount how important one little change can be, right? Going up or down a degree in lie angle. Again, if the ball isn't coming off the face at more than 4, 5, 6 miles an hour, so it's not like, oh my gosh, I just hit that ball off the planet, right? It's little small things. And so if you are a tinker and you really want to mess with every possible lie angle in this particular hosel setting and see which works for you, great. There are
Yeah.
people that that's how they live their lives, or that's how they are with everything, and they love to isolate a variable,
I
change
want
this
to
one,
find
play
out
with that.
which of these 60 toe hang and shaft offset combinations is right for me. One of
Yeah, I'm going to
these
work
one
today.
of these 60 is for you.
Mhm. Yes.
60.
And I want to know if you are out there, if that is you. Because, again, it's like
60.
my mom told me growing up, there's
Don't
somebody
eat
for
that.
everybody. Don't
Oh.
eat. Well, yeah. Sorry, too late. No, there's somebody for everybody, right? There's no matter how odd or quirky or you are, yeah, there's a dance partner for you in life. I guarantee you, there are golfers out there that this is like they're hearing this or seeing this and they've already ordered it, going, yes, finally, somebody created the system that I want to play with, and figure out how it works,
Yeah.
So
Do you
anyway,
want to
let's
putt, or do
finish up
you
with
want to
this.
play with a putter? Like that's
I want to do both all day long,
it's
and there you
you
go.
know, like on your streaming services now, you don't actually watch anything. You just like, oh, watch this trailer, and then another trailer, and then another trailer. This is it.
Right?
That's what this is.
Yeah. And if that is you, tell us. I want to know. Let's finish with this. We're going to rank some things, Tony. So it's the 4th of July, so we're going to do a top 4 list. Well, it will be the 4th of July this week. And this kind of goes along with Connor's article that he wrote, kind of on where to spend money, where to save money. So here's your top 4 list, Tony. The top 4 golf or golf adjacent items where money becomes no object, in the sense that you're not looking for a deal. You're not looking to save a couple of dollars. You're like, hey, I will pay whatever the retail rate is. I will go straight after that. I do not care. I will not compromise quality or comfort or stability, whatever it is, to save even a dollar. I'm going to pay whatever is required to get the product that I want. Give me your top 4 list.
All right, I'm gonna borrow heavily from Connor's list, because I think for as much as Connor is wrong, I mean he's not wrong as much as Sean is wrong, but
No,
for as
no.
much as Connor is wrong, he actually got a lot right here. So number 4, shoes. Do not compromise on shoes. Comfort being first. Now I've got to try and find one that somehow stabilizes my ankle or something, but definitely do not compromise on shoes. Number 2, this isn't just a golf lesson. This is a life lesson. Socks and underwear. We'll group them together, but do not cut corners on socks and underwear. Socks, get yourself some features. I swear by features. That is an unsponsored ad right there. I love features.
But yeah, I got you.
Underwear.
What's your favorite underwear? Since we're on underwear.
I'm into Tommy John these days. Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like I moved on from 2 Under. I think the quality dropped, if I'm being brutally honest.
Quality's trash.
So
I'm a big Lululemon guy. I like the Lululemons.
That checks out.
Who knew? Yeah.
Number 2 is rain gear. Do not cut corners on rain gear. Because very often when you sacrifice price, I'm not saying there aren't some relative bargains out there. Galway Bay, relative bargain, good stuff. You and I share by shoes. The cross stuff has tested well in the past. Those are my...
Yeah.
And you can throw Galvin Green up in there towards the top end as well. I personally would not stray from those brands at all if you play in the rain. Like if you're in Southern California and it rains 4 days a year and you're just like, you know what, I'm not going to play, then don't buy rain gear. But if you play in the rain at all, this is the difference between being dry, comfortable, and playing well and being soggy. So do not skimp on rain gear.
Across the seas. One other point before you get to your number 1. I'm going to say the same thing about the shoes is that doesn't mean they have to be the brand newest model. But it means if you find something that works for you, a size, a width, features, whatever, having your feet be comfortable and being dry is not the place to save a couple bucks, right? So it could be last year's model, the year before. Maybe you find something that really works for you. Buy that 4 or 5 pairs. All right.
I'm wearing last year's Adidas golf shoes. Yeah. Number one. I don't know if this is true to the spirit of this, but number 1, do not skimp on a golf trip. Do not try and cut a corner. Go where you want. Get the solid accommodation. Stay on site. Definitely stay on site. You're in there. This is broad strokes golf rule of mine anyway. Unfortunately, money only spends one time. And so if you can only if you've only got enough for one serious spend on an experience. Spend on something you're going to remember, not on something that you're going to throw away in a year or two. I mean, it doesn't get better. I don't care if it's St. Andrews. I don't care if it's Bandon.
Yeah.
Go where you want to go. Pay for it. Enjoy it. Don't regret a penny.
Where would you go next? Place you haven't been, trip that you would not see. You'd say, hey, if you got the invite tomorrow, your buddy calls you and say, hey, we got room for a 4th. It's going to be... You said, I don't care how much it's going to be. I'm there. Where are you going?
Bandon,
what is that?
Cabot, Sand Valley. Like, I'd go back to Bandon in a heartbeat and then, come home and 2 days later go back. I think we're both curious about Cabot. Just looks so good up there.
Very curious about Cabot.
Sand Valley, because, again, it's, it feels like maybe like Bandon somewhere else, right? Very, very similar. Same ownership group, all of that stuff. And, yeah.
Well, I love it. Well, remember, Tony, it's the 4th of July. Be safe out there, people. Back up, Terry. Back up. Be safe for those of you.
Let's all have 10 fingers come Friday morning.
10 fingers next week. Find us, follow us on the interwebs. Again, thank you to Lab Golf for sponsoring this episode. We're out there. Let us know what we can do to help you out. Until next time, we out.